Hello, friend. Welcome to Sleepy Science Saga, where science becomes lullabies and sleep becomes a journey back to nature. Here, we don't chase the hurried rhythm of the world outside. We simply surrender to the breath of the universe, slow, steady, and deep, like the forest's hum in the night. Each video is a small window opening into a dreaming universe, where knowledge meets meditation, where a gentle voice guides you through the wonders of nature, real yet mystical, just enough to let you forget the noise of a long day. A single raindrop falls silently onto a fern leaf. It bounces lightly, then melts into the humid air evaporating around the tree trunk. The sound of insects fades into the distance. The last light of dusk paints the canopy in pale gold, then vanishes into the green mist. This is the moment when day and night touch, where rain begins to breathe, where the forest awakens without moving. Tonight we will venture together into one of the planet's quietest secrets, where the rain breathes, where rain doesn't just fall, but breathes. There, every droplet, every leaf, every insect's vibration joins a vast symphony that humans only hear a fraction of. The Amazon is not just a forest, it is a living body, the most sophisticated biological machine nature has ever created. For over 50 million years, it has steadily regulated the atmosphere's breath, absorbing carbon, releasing oxygen, and keeping the planet cool enough for life to persist. Scientists call the Amazon Earth's lungs, but if you listen closely, you'll realize it's more like a heart. Each rainfall is a heartbeat, pushing moisture into the sky, carrying clouds to distant continents. Every tree, every vine, every moss carpet is a tiny cell in that colossal body, pulsing, breathing, dreaming together. When you inhale, the air in your lungs may have once passed through this canopy, where billions of leaves produce oxygen from sunlight and water. When you exhale, that breath returns to them, like a silent cycle linking humans to the forest. Now, if you wish, let your body settle a little. Feel the cool air flow in through your nose, through your chest, through your belly. Inhale, as if you're breathing in rhythm with the forest. Exhale, like rain falling gently through leaves. Each inhale is a life, each exhale is a release. Here, you don't need to do anything, don't need to try to understand, just let the world slow down, like water seeping through roots, like light quietly shifting in the mist. And as you relax deeper, you'll begin to feel something indescribable. The forest is listening to you too. From afar, raindrops respond to your breath. Gentle breezes brush your skin like nature's greeting. The Amazon is not just a place, but a consciousness, a vast dream where humans and trees, air and water share a single pulse. In tonight's journey, we will pass through moisture and light, through thick canopies where life quietly stirs in the dark. We'll meet creatures that live so slowly time seems to pause, hear the faint calls of rain and rivers, and see the world through the forest's eyes. Let this voice guide you, slowly, gently, deeply, into where the rain breathes and you breathe with it. Now take a deep breath and exhale softly. Tonight, the Amazon opens its doors and the journey begins. Mornings in the Amazon rainforest don't begin with a rooster's crow or sunlight through a window, but with a sigh. A long, silent sigh that spreads across the sky. In a place where trees are so dense that light is reduced to faint golden streaks lost among leaves. Morning is a movement of air more than light. Dewdrops clinging to moss, roots, and house-sized trunks tremble as if someone has just exhaled softly. And indeed, that's what's happening. The forest is breathing. Every dawn, billions of leaves in the forest open like tiny lungs. Under the first light, they begin an ancient ritual called photosynthesis. In this process, leaves absorb carbon dioxide from the air, store the sun's energy in sugar molecules, and release oxygen, the gas we breathe in with every breath. It's a chemical dance that has lasted hundreds of millions of years, silent and precise. Scientists have said the Amazon produces about 20% of the free oxygen in the atmosphere, but that number is more than data. It's a heartbeat, a breath shared between humans and the forest. If viewed from space, NASA satellite images show the Amazon is not a static green carpet. Every day, moisture from the forest rises like fine smoke, forming white clouds drifting across South America. Billions of trees breathe together, releasing water vapor through tiny pores on leaves, a process called transpiration. Thanks to this, between 50 and 80% of the rain falling on the Amazon is actually generated by the forest itself. A forest that sustains itself with its own breath, a colossal creature that inhales, exhales, and dreams. Imagine, each leaf is a lung, each rainfall a heartbeat. When billions of leaves open to greet the light, the world softens. The heavy atmosphere is purified. Carbon, the gas of decay and death, is transformed into the energy of life. In the spaces between tree trunks, you can feel that rhythm. By day, the forest inhales deeply, drawing in carbon dioxide and water. By night, it exhales, releasing moisture, heat, and soothing sounds like a lullaby. You can try breathing with it. Inhale deeply, as if pulling air through layers of leaves. Exhale slowly, like rain falling through roots. When you inhale, you draw the breath of millions of other creatures into your lungs. When you exhale, you give back to the forest the gas it needs to keep living. This is not a metaphor. It's physical reality. Life is a cycle of exchange, and right now, you are part of that cycle. Science calls it the carbon cycle, the global carbon cycle, but through the lens of meditation, we might call it the world's breath. There is no boundary between organism and environment. Between you and the forest, there are only two different forms of the same air moving, pulsing rhythmically between human lungs and leaf lungs. When we understand this, the air around us seems thicker, full of presence, full of meaning. In a hidden corner of the forest, there's a rare orchid that blooms only at midnight. It doesn't need sunlight to glow, but darkness. Each night, when dew settles and moisture thickens like a curtain, its white petals open, releasing a faint smoky scent, just enough for nocturnal butterflies to sense. They fly in, brush the stigma lightly, leave pollen, and vanish into the dark. They say this orchid never blooms on windy nights, for it fears waking the forest. Perhaps that's nature's way of teaching us about listening. Only in silence do dreams unfold. The forest's breath is the same. It's not loud. It doesn't need witnesses. It simply happens, ceaselessly, unhurried, like a long prayer for life. When you step into the Amazon, you're not just walking among trees and soil. You're moving through currents of air, through chains of chemical reactions, keeping the world in balance. Every raindrop you hear, every ray of light slipping through the canopy is a sign of that great exchange. The forest breathes and we exist. If you close your eyes, you'll feel the moisture gently touch your skin, like mist that knows where to find you. That's the water vapor released through billions of leaf pores, rising high, then condensing into clouds. The next day, those clouds return as rain, and the cycle begins again. A breath spanning thousands of miles, a heartbeat echoing across the planet. And it all starts with what science calls photosynthesis, but the forest calls life. Sometimes we think breathing is only a human affair, but in truth, the forest is what taught us to breathe. It inhales what we release and gives back what we need most. When we're in a hurry, we forget this. But here, in the Amazon, nothing is rushed. Everything happens in its own rhythm, a rhythm not measured in seconds, but in breaths. And in each of those breaths, there's an invitation to pause, to feel that you're still alive within a colossal organism, where every leaf is a cell, every raindrop a blood vessel, every breeze a breath. The Amazon doesn't speak in words, but if you listen long enough, you'll hear it. This world is breathing with you, and you've never truly been alone. As the sun sets behind a cloud-covered horizon, the forest doesn't sleep in the human sense. It simply changes rhythm. By day, it inhales, drawing in light, carbon, and energy. By night, it exhales, releasing moisture into the air, shedding lingering heat, and easing the planet into its own rest. If you stand in the Amazon at dusk, you can hear the forest breathe, not through sound, but through feeling. A thin mist slowly rising from the soil, water vapor emanating from massive trunks, and the air thickening like a blanket cradling all life below. This is the process science calls transpiration, water vapor release. Each leaf has tiny pores called stomata, like millions of small mouths breathing on the green surface. As temperature drops, these pores open, releasing water vapor and creating a humid layer enveloping the entire forest. Each water molecule, joining billions of others, rises to form clouds, and the next morning, those clouds return as rain, a perfect, closed, self-sustaining loop. NASA has recorded that over half of the Amazon's rainfall is generated by the forest itself. This means that if the forest stops breathing, the skies would dry up. This entire system, trees, soil, clouds, and water, is a unified organism. No part exists in isolation. The forest doesn't wait for rain, it creates rain, like a creature that generates its own oxygen. And on that scale, we realize the Amazon is not just a forest, it's a lung that knows how to regenerate, a long breath the planet needs to sleep peacefully. Imagine lying in that space, where everything is damp, cool, and alive. The air is thick enough to touch. Each inhale carries the taste of leaves, soil, and mist. Each exhale blends your breath with the rising vapor. There's no longer a boundary between inside and outside. You're not just breathing air, you're breathing life itself, an energy flow that has existed since the forest was an ocean. In a distant corner, massive kapok trees tower over 60 meters, their roots spreading like walls. As moisture rises, their trunks glow faintly in the moonlight, as if the forest is sweating. On those trunks, bioluminescent fungi begin to shine, tiny lamps scattered across the ground. Beneath that light, small creatures stir. Tiny frogs sing, insects flutter, and farther off, a black jaguar moves silently, leaving no trace. Every movement is slow, steady, and in harmony with the forest's breath. If you listen closely, you'll hear water droplets falling, not from rain, but from vapor condensing on leaves. One by one, they drip to the soil, seep into the earth, and vanish. In each droplet are tiny dust particles from the atmosphere, traces of the ocean, the breath of millions of trees. When scientists sample these droplets, they find aerosols, organic microparticles released by leaves during transpiration. These tiny particles are cloud condensation nuclei, the seeds that make water vapor form droplets. In other words, the forest truly teaches rain how to form. If you pay attention, you'll see the Amazon conversing with the sky. It doesn't need words, it only needs breath. In the morning, it sends moisture into the air. In the evening, it receives rain, a dialogue of water, air, and life. Like a body talking to itself, the forest and sky exchange in silence, and we, standing in between, only need to learn how to listen. Now, you can try it with the forest. Inhale deeply. Imagine drawing in moisture that has passed through millions of canopies. Exhale slowly. Let your breath blend with the night mist. Inhale. It's the light and oxygen the forest created by day. Exhale. It's the warmth you give back to nurture the coming rain. We are not separate from this cycle. We only temporarily forget we belong to it. There's a strange fact few know. When temperatures drop at night, many Amazon trees emit faint sounds, almost like soft groans of wood expanding. Researchers at the University of São Paulo once used sensors to capture these vibrations, steady rhythms, like a heartbeat in sleep. Each vibration results from water moving slowly through the tree's vessels as pressure changes. This means that while the world sleeps, the forest still dreams, in tiny vibrations humans can't hear. If you could see at the subatomic level, you'd witness every water molecule in motion, every electron vibrating in the moonlight. Those vibrations create waves, subtle waves spreading through space, touching your skin, your breath, your heartbeat. There's no boundary between the human body and the forest body. They merge, like a dewdrop blending into a leaf. And in that moment, when everything grows still, you might feel what philosophy calls the unity of existence, the state where subject and object dissolve into each other. In that breath, you're no longer observing the forest. The forest is observing itself through you. Every cell in your lungs mirrors the structure of leaves, inhaling with them, exhaling with them. The Amazon doesn't need us to understand it. It only needs us to breathe with it. Every breath we take is part of the breath the forest sends out. Every bead of sweat on our skin is a small reflection of the endless transpiration. And when we understand this, anxiety fades. All that remains is breath, long, warm, and enough. High above, the first cloud of the night has formed, carrying moisture risen from millions of trunks. It will drift, circle the Andes, and fall elsewhere, perhaps on plains, perhaps on the ocean. And so, the Amazon's breath continues its journey, traveling farther than the forest itself. No one knows where it stops, only that, somehow, it all returns. The Amazon's breath doesn't vanish. It only changes form, flowing through rivers, seeping into tree veins, blending into the air we breathe. Like an ancient memory, it passes through every form of life, then returns to itself. On some level, we could say the forest is thinking. Not with words, but with cycles, with the ceaseless repetition of water, light, and life. Ecologists have recently proven that Amazon trees communicate through an underground network of roots and fungi called the mycorrhizal network, a system like nature's internet. Through it, trees send electrical signals, nutrients, and even warning messages when attacked by pests or drought. On a deeper level, this means the forest has memory and it knows how to share it. Imagine standing among thousands of trunks with a vast network beneath your feet, larger than any city, where every root touches another, transmitting tiny electrical pulses, streams of minerals like neurons in the planet's giant brain. Each rainfall lights up this network with moisture signals, spreading through soil, roots, then fading like a dream. The Amazon doesn't just breathe, it dreams, it remembers, it learns. Researchers in Science magazine once called this phenomenon forest cognition, forest consciousness. Not consciousness like humans, but ecological intelligence, where every component, trees, fungi, water, clouds, is a neuron in a thinking system. When you breathe in the forest, you step into that mind, and somehow, that mind senses you back. It's strange, but if you stay long in the forest, your heartbeat slows, your breath deepens, and your mind naturally quiets. It could be the abundant oxygen or the low-frequency forest sounds creating alpha waves in the brain, inducing natural meditation. But it could also be that the forest is tuning us, bringing us into its rhythm. A wondrous example recorded by biologists in Manaus. They discovered a glowing moss that only emits phosphorescence when air humidity reaches perfection, about 97%. In dim light, each moss patch pulses steadily, dimming and brightening every few seconds. When analyzing the data, they found its glow rhythm matches human breathing in deep relaxation, about 6 to 8 breaths per minute, as if the entire forest is breathing with us. Try breathing softly. Inhale as the moss glows. Exhale as the light softens and fades into the mist. In the forest, everything is connected. Light flows down through canopies, absorbed by leaves, transformed into energy, then passed to microorganisms, soil, insects. A nocturnal butterfly flies by, carrying pollen elsewhere. a small act that ripples through the ecosystem. Every movement, no matter how tiny, alters the forest's breath. From a philosophical view, this is a manifestation of interbeing, a Buddhist concept Thich Nhat Hanh described. This is because that is. No leaf can live without air, without light, without raindrops, without the person breathing beneath its canopy. We don't just live in the forest, we live with the forest. If you sit still long enough, you'll feel yourself dissolving into the scenery. Insect sounds no longer feel separate, they become the background of consciousness. The scent of soil, moss, decaying leaves blends into your breath, and you no longer distinguish what you're inhaling, only the sensation of being breathed. In that moment, you return to a primal state, where humans had no language, only sensation and listening. Perhaps that's why meditators, scientists, and poets all seek the forest, to be silent within Earth's vast mind. A Brazilian climate scientist once said, "The Amazon thinks in clouds." That statement is not just a metaphor. When the forest releases water vapor, it doesn't just create rain for itself. It regulates global weather, sending moisture as far as Africa, where deserts receive their first rains after drought. Every rain in the Sahara, in part, is born from the Amazon's breath. A climatic nervous system envelops the planet, where the forest is the moist brain and the atmosphere is the flowing thought. From this perspective, the forest is not just an organism, it's the planet's consciousness. A mind without words, but one that knows balance, knows self-healing. When one part is damaged, by fire, by logging, the rest sends energy to recover. Like in a body, when one cell dies, others multiply to compensate. That structure is not just intelligent, it's compassionate. And here, in the Amazon night, as you listen to the forest's breath, you're also listening to your own. The same life flow, the same frequency. There's no boundary between observer and observed. The forest isn't outside you, it's in your lungs, in every air molecule you inhale. Inhale deeply. You're inhaling yesterday's morning light that the forest preserved. Exhale. You're sending back a bit of warmth to help create tomorrow's rain. And so, you and the forest continue writing that eternal breath, where scientific knowledge and meditative soul meet, where sunlight becomes oxygen, then breath, then awareness. No one knows where it stops, only that somehow it all returns. Rain falls on distant plains, seeps into soil, feeds rivers, then rises as vapor again. That cycle is like the planet's endless whisper, the whisper of life. In those breaths, the Amazon is not just a forest, it's Earth's mind, an ancient intelligence that knows how to balance giving and receiving, light and dark, life and sleep. If we look deeply, we see every creature in the forest is a fragment of the same thought. Raindrops breaking on leaves, reflecting moonlight, like neurons transmitting signals. Nocturnal butterflies flying through mist, carrying pollen from flower to flower. That's how the forest dreams. Roots exchanging nutrients through soil, fungi and microbes passing information from one trunk to another. That's how the forest reflects. And the river flowing thousands of miles, carrying seeds, decayed leaves, and moisture. That's how the forest tells stories. And among those layers of life, humans are just a small beat in that endless breath. We're not outside, not above, we're with it. When we inhale, the oxygen we receive is a gift from leaves. When we exhale, the carbon we release becomes energy for the forest. A simple exchange, but the foundation of all existence. If we stay silent long enough, we can hear that breath blending into us. Try one deep breath, slowly. Feel the cool air flow through your lungs, down to your belly, carrying the moisture of millions of dewdrops. Then exhale, gently, letting your inner warmth dissolve into the night, blending with the forest's vapor. This is no longer a metaphor, it's biological truth, a cycle connecting every creature on the planet. In that space, sunlight and nighttime darkness are no longer opposites. They melt into each other like two beats of the same breath. When the forest inhales, light becomes energy. When it exhales, that energy becomes shade, becomes sleep. The entire world seems to float in a dream without beginning or end. Philosophers call it unified consciousness, where there's no separation between person and thing, between mind and nature. Every being is a temporary expression of the same energy, like waves and the sea. Waves may differ, but all are water. Likewise, every creature in the Amazon, from insects, birds, animals to humans, are waves of the same sea of consciousness moving slowly in the form of life. Somewhere in the low clouds, the Amazon's breath extends beyond its borders. It meets Atlantic winds, carrying salt, forming rain in Africa. That loop connects two continents, like two lungs of the same body. NASA scientists have called this phenomenon the planetary respiration cycle, the planet's breathing cycle. When the Amazon is healthy, Earth's climate is stable. When the Amazon suffocates, the entire planet begins to fever. Perhaps no place on Earth holds as much memory as a river, because water never truly disappears. It only changes shape, direction, role. It rises as clouds, becomes rain, seeps into soil, flows through human hearts, and returns to the sea. And in the deepest heart of South America, a river tells that story every day. The Amazon, silent yet immense, like Earth's flowing memory. From the first raindrops falling on dense green canopies, water begins a journey longer than 6,400 kilometers through forests, plains, and time. Along the way, it carries minerals, pollen, leaf fragments, volcanic ash, and traces of creatures lost thousands of years ago. Each droplet, upon reaching the sea, is a recorded memory, a small part of the planet's never-ending story. Like the human brain storing memories with electrical currents, the Amazon stores memories with flow. As water moves through reddish-brown soil, it carries tales of tree roots, ancient rocks, life that once existed and vanished. Under microscopes, scientists find silica particles in Amazon river water, traces of the Andes, the river's source. Those dust grains, smaller than human cells, are remnants of a great mountain range that rose from the ocean floor tens of millions of years ago. But the strangest part isn't what the river carries away, but how it once changed direction. Millions of years ago, the Amazon didn't flow into the Atlantic as it does now. It poured westward into the Pacific, until the Andes, South America's backbone, began rising due to tectonic collisions. That uplift blocked the old path, forcing water to find a new way. From then on, the Amazon reversed, flowing from west to east, carving the continent like a mark of time. And since then, every droplet in the Amazon is a reversed memory. Water carries stories of geology, planetary motion, slow but profound changes. Every tributary, every bend, is the result of millions of years of forest and rock conversing through pressure, rain, and infinite patience. If we view that flow through the eyes of meditation, we see another image. The river is our own memory. What we thought was lost is only a temporary redirection of flow. It doesn't vanish. It moves elsewhere, waiting to be found. Like the Amazon, human memory has its own Andes, mountains of experience, pain, awakening, forcing emotional currents to bend, to find new paths to continue existing. Inhale, exhale. Imagine standing on the Amazon riverbank, watching water flow slowly under the sunset. Each ripple reflects a memory fragment of the forest, soil, sky. You bend down, touch the water's surface, and feel the whole world moving in your palm. Scientists call the Amazon Earth's liquid memory. In its waters, they find everything, from natural chemicals born of roots to ancient microbes with nearly primal DNA. Each rainfall absorbs organic compounds, then carries them via rivers to the sea, where they nourish plankton, the foundation of the global food chain. Thus, the forest's memory becomes the ocean's life. A 2023 NASA Earth Observatory study revealed a stunning discovery. Water vapor rising from the Amazon forest can travel to the Sahara Desert, crossing the Atlantic and creating rare rains in Africa. Scientists describe this as the planetary heartbeat of water. This means a droplet falling in the Amazon today could become rain on Sahara sands tomorrow. Forest and desert, two extremes of life, still converse through clouds. When we think of this, we realize everything is connected by flow. Nothing is completely separate. Water is the world's memory, and that memory flows through us every time we drink, cry, or breathe. Like the forest, the river doesn't speak in words. It tells stories with flow, sound, reflection. When we listen long enough, we realize its voice is no different from the one in our hearts. Water and memory, forest and human, all are different forms of the same idea, movement and return. Vapor rises from the forest, falls as rain, seeps into soil, flows into rivers, then returns to clouds. Like memory, born, fading, then recalled. Never lost, only redirected. From deep within the earth, water surges up, weaves through tree roots, carrying minerals from dark layers, then flows into light. It has no intent, no destination, yet somehow always finds its way. Like our memories, sometimes seeming buried, but with a single spark of light, they rise, flooding back to awareness. When we say the Amazon is Earth's memory, it's not just a metaphor. In every cubic meter of water, millions of dissolved carbon molecules exist, born from decayed leaves, roots, and countless creatures. These molecules, thousands of years old, move slowly like deep thoughts in the planet's mind. Chemists call them DOC, dissolved organic carbon. Philosophers might call them dissolved memories. Beneath the damp red soil, root networks intertwine like neural threads. When rain falls, water seeps down, passes through those roots, blends with minerals, then gradually finds its way to small streams. This flow is never alone. Millions of tiny waterways merge into streams, then rivers, then the sea. In that movement, forest and water compose the planet's oldest song. A song with no composer, no audience, yet it echoes forever. Cambridge University scientists once likened the Amazon's hydrological system to a dreaming brain. Through satellite observation, they found that in the rainy season, thousands of tributary branches expand, then contract in the dry season like electrical pulses spreading between neurons. From space, the entire Amazon basin resembles a vast neural network, glowing and dimming with the climate's rhythm, as if the planet is breathing through water. If the forest is the lung, the river is the memory. It holds everything the forest cannot say in words. Pollen grains swept from a withered flower still float hundreds of kilometers downstream. Fish migrating with the current carry the taste of soil and forest to distant seas. And when we touch that river, we're not just touching water, we're touching time. Imagine standing barefoot on the riverbank, toes in wet mud. The water is cold, but it pulses, a very slow, very deep pulse. Beneath the calm surface, countless tiny creatures move, larvae, algae, bacteria, all blended in a delicate biological flow. They don't know they carry messages from the past, but in their unconsciousness, they are living memories, endlessly copied and transmitted. Like in our minds, forgotten memories still drift beneath conscious awareness, waiting to be awakened. When we dream, perhaps those deep memory currents rise, like water finding its way to light. Like the Amazon, the human mind has hidden pathways, interwoven branches, unexpected turns leading to places never visited. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Feel the flow in your lungs, no different from the water in the earth. It rises, falls, moves in a rhythm beyond our control. Hydrologists have proven that even with less rain, the Amazon River never fully dries, as groundwater can sustain it for months. Like memory, even when consciousness runs dry, deeper layers nourish emotions, intuition, and dreams. Nothing is lost, only hidden, waiting to be named. A little-known phenomenon. At night, Amazon waters glow, not from moonlight, but from bioluminescence, light produced by glowing bacteria. These tiny organisms absorb energy from organic matter in the water, then emit a dim blue glow. On a boat, looking into the dark water, you'd see it sparkling like an upside-down sky, as if the planet's memories are glowing from within. That light reminds us that not everything buried is dark. In the river's deepest night, something always shines, small but steadfast. Like in our souls, even lost in darkness, there's always a spark of awareness, love, remembrance. Vapor rises from the river's surface, blends into the air, meets forest winds, then drifts far. NASA calls these moist air currents rivers in the sky. And indeed, water doesn't just flow on land. It flows in the sky, carrying the forest's memories across oceans to distant lands. In 2023, part of that river was detected reaching Africa, creating rains over the Sahara Desert. A droplet falling in the Amazon can become rain in the Sahara, like a memory passing from one person to another, from one mind to another, crossing space and time. Perhaps this is the deepest essence of connection. Everything that ever existed leaves a trace in the universe's common flow. And you, listening now, are part of that flow. Every breath you take may contain vapor that once drifted over the forest, touched a butterfly's wing, blended into clouds. Every heartbeat echoes the planet's pulse. In silence, you realize there's no inside and outside, only flow, nameless, without beginning or end. As the Amazon River leaves the dense forests, it carries the jungle's final breath. Water has traveled thousands of miles, winding through countless tributaries, absorbing the brown of soil, the scent of leaves, the sound of birds, and sunlight. Now, it approaches the end of its journey, where forest meets sea, where memory dissolves into the ocean's infinite stillness. From above, through NASA satellite images, the Amazon's mouth appears as a bright crack on Earth's surface. Billions of liters of fresh water pour out daily into the Atlantic. But miraculously, that water doesn't blend immediately. For hundreds of kilometers, the Amazon's flow retains its pale brown hue, suspended amid the sea's deep blue. A strange band of color, half forest, half ocean, stretches like a memory unwilling to fade. Like the mind, some memories never vanish, only blur. The river carries the forest's remnants, decayed leaves, pollen, dust, DNA of countless species, and delivers them to the sea. Each tiny particle floating is a message, telling the world the forest was here, that life is not just in the past, but still flowing. Oceanographers call the area where the Amazon meets the Atlantic a soft boundary, a zone where freshwater and saltwater coexist, not clashing, only blending slowly, like two memory halves finding each other. In that transitional zone, millions of plankton thrive, feeding on the forest's organic compounds, then becoming life for fish, birds, the entire ocean. Thus, the forest's memory transforms into food, energy, new life. Looking deeper, we see there's no boundary between forest and sea, only one continuous flow, the flow of exchange. Like in the mind, there's no boundary between past and present, only awareness moving through memory, creating meaning then fading. Like a meditator sitting before waves, we can hear the water's voice, not loud, not hurried, but deep and long. Each ripple on the sea echoes the forest. When we listen, we hear the planet's heartbeat, slow, strong, ceaseless. Scientists at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution have described finding unique organic compounds in seawater near the Amazon's mouth, memory molecules born from roots and soil. This means the forest never truly disappears. It exists in the ocean, in rain, in every droplet we drink. Imagine on a small boat drifting where forest and sea meet. The water is calm. The wind carries the damp scent of soil and the salty tang of the open sea. Beneath the surface, millions of tiny creatures glow, each flash a forest memory transforming. You lean down, touch the water, and feel it cool like the planet's skin. Everything around you seems silent, only breath, yours, the rivers, the seas, blending together. Perhaps this is water's meditation, the state where all movement becomes soft, where all memories are forgiven. Because when memory touches the sea, it's no longer the past. It becomes energy, becomes the cycle, becomes the present. Inhale as the river flows into the sea. Exhale as waves dissolve on the shore. In that moment, we realize what both science and meditation say. All life is flow, no stopping, no loss. When the river reaches the sea, it doesn't end. It begins a new form. Water evaporates, forms clouds, clouds drift, then fall back on the forest. That cycle has no start or end, only continuation. And on a deeper level, that's the nature of consciousness. Our thoughts, emotions, memories follow the same cycle, arising, fading, returning in another form. Each time we learn to observe without clinging, we do what the river does. Let memory flow naturally, without blocking, holding, or judging. In the fading light of day, as the sun sets far across the Atlantic, the water seems to glow. It's the reflected light of the entire long journey, from deep forest to vast sea, all merging into one pulse, the flow of memory, of life, of ourselves. And as night falls, vapor rises from the sea again. In those clouds, there may be a droplet that once fell on an Amazon leaf, touched your hand, dissolved on someone's lips on the other side of the world. That flow never stops. It's only returning. Night has fallen over the Amazon, and the river now holds only a faint phosphorescence under a star-filled sky. No more bird calls, only the sound of water, low, slow, steady, like the breath of a sleeping organism. The river's surface reflects the Milky Way, making it hard to tell where sky ends and water begins. Both merge, as if the world is folding in on itself, mirroring itself in stillness. In that darkness, if you sit quietly, you can hear the water whispering, not the sound of waves, but of memory. Because this river has existed longer than any civilization, it has witnessed the birth of forests, of countless species, of humans. It has seen mountains rise and erode, roots grow and decay, blood spill and dissolve in water. The Amazon remembers everything, but it doesn't judge. It only lets everything flow, letting memory transform into movement. And isn't that water's lesson? When we let go, memory doesn't vanish. It only finds a new path to return. Like the Amazon reversing when the Andes rose, each time our mind meets a mountain, memory shifts direction. It finds another way to keep flowing, without trying to return, without clinging. Neurologists have said human bodies are over 70% water, and it's not still. It moves, vibrates, responds to emotions, heartbeat, breath. This means we too are rivers. Every cell is a tiny water droplet, flowing in a system called the body. And when we sleep, those waters still move, carrying oxygen to cells, cleansing, healing, regenerating. In sleep, the river within us tells the same story the Amazon tells outside, the story of flow and return. Science calls it homeostasis, the body's natural balance. But through meditation's eyes, we might call it the stillness that knows how to breathe. When we lie down, breath slows, heart softens, and the energy flows within us. Blood, water, bioelectricity begin their own rhythm. We return to the planet's river rhythm. In that moment, there's no distance between human and nature, between sleeper and the dreaming world. A NASA Earth Observatory research team once described, the Amazon doesn't just create rain, it creates climate memory. Each vapor rise is a data point, each cloud a record. When vapor reaches the Sahara and falls as rain, it's a message sent from the forest, a reminder that every place on Earth is connected by water, memory, breath. And if the forest forgets to breathe, the world forgets rain. Similarly, when we forget to breathe slowly, our minds dry up. Every emotion, thought, worry becomes sharp, like stones clashing in a dry riverbed. But when we inhale slowly, breathe deeper, the water within us begins to move, carrying the soft energy of life. Like the forest, we create our own rain. Try inhaling, deeply, as if drawing a breath from the Amazon River itself. Then exhaling, slowly, letting every memory dissolve into the water. In every river droplet are millions of hydrogen atoms, atoms once part of a star, an ancient ocean, the first primitive creature. When you drink a sip of water, you carry traces of the universe. Each molecule was once a dinosaur's breath, a raindrop on a vanished forest, a tear from an unnamed person. And now it flows within you. Amazon, forest, water, human, all are different forms of the same cosmic memory. A memory belonging to no one, yet within everyone. It cannot be lost, only repeated in countless forms, through raindrops, rivers, sleep, breath. And as you drift into sleep tonight, imagine the Amazon River is flowing through your body. Each breath is a wave, each heartbeat a river bend. The water within you is telling stories to the water outside. No words, no memory needed, only letting yourself drift. In the darkness, the river continues. It doesn't know where it's going, only that somehow it will return. And as you sleep, you too are returning to breath, to the world's original silence. In the forest, where light only seeps through in droplets, where rain takes minutes to reach the ground through layers of leaves, there's a creature that has turned slowness into art. It's the sloth, a being living in a rhythm entirely different from the rest of the world. When you see it, you might think time has stopped. But no, it still flows. Just so slowly, you must hold your breath to feel it. The sloth lives nearly its entire life hanging silently from high branches. It eats, sleeps, gives birth, and even smiles in midair. With long grey-brown fur and a gentle face, it's like a living cloud, slow, light, and utterly unconcerned with the forest's hurried pace below. Its body is built for stillness, long curved claws to grip branches securely, a multi-chambered stomach for slow digestion, and a heart that conserves energy. Its heartbeat can drop to 40% when resting while hanging. If you've ever heard its heartbeat through a biomonitor, you'd recognize something wondrous. It's never in a rush. Each beat is a distant echo, steady, almost meditative. A biologist once said, "If time could soften, it would flow like a sloth's heartbeat." In a world where everything races, rivers flow, winds whirl, rain falls, only the sloth dares to live differently. It doesn't resist time, it befriends it. Each of its movements is a Zen phrase. Slow down so life can touch you. Modern science has confirmed slow movement isn't a sign of weakness, but the result of a perfect biological strategy. By living slowly, the sloth conserves energy to the point it can survive solely on leaves, a nutrient-poor food most creatures couldn't live on. While others hunt, compete, or travel far for food, the sloth simply stays still. Stillness is its survival. Perhaps if meditation had a form, it would be a sloth hanging in the Amazon canopy, eyes closed, letting wind caress its fur, letting rain fall. In a 2022 Science Mag study, neuroscientists compared the brain rhythms of humans in deep meditation with the movement cycles of three-toed sloths and found a stunning coincidence. Both oscillate at about 4 to 8 Hz, the Theta wave range. This is the brainwave zone of deep relaxation, dreaming, the state between wakefulness and sleep. One could say the sloth lives in natural meditation, a forest meditator, always drifting between two worlds, awake and surrendered. If you close your eyes and imagine hanging like it, you'll feel the wonder. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no clock chasing you. Only wind, leaves, and breath. Everything is enough. Everything arrives in its time. On the sloth's fur lies a secret few know. Moss and algae live in symbiosis. These tiny microalgae grow in the forest's humidity, and the sloth's sweat, forming a pale green layer, camouflaging it perfectly in the canopy. In return, when the sloth licks its fur or bathes in rain, it absorbs nutrients from the algae, a perfect relationship of coexistence. Science calls it symbiosis, biological mutualism. But on a deeper level, it's like soul symbiosis. In human life, there are relationships like this, quiet, non-possessive, simply coexisting, nourishing each other through presence. We don't need to change anyone. We only need to breathe in the same rhythm. And perhaps that's the lesson the sloth brings to the world. When you're slow enough to listen, you'll see everything is breathing with you. A Brazilian photographer once said he sat beneath a tree for 3 hours just to watch a sloth move from one branch to another. He said, "I came to take photos but ended up learning how to sit still." 3 hours, and the sloth moved only a few meters. But in those 3 hours, light shifted, rain fell, wind rose, and the forest transformed endlessly. The world around kept spinning, but the sloth wasn't swept along. It became the center of stillness. If you watch long enough, you'll see slow movement isn't stopping, but another form of life's rhythm. When the sloth moves, every muscle coordinates perfectly, every breath calculated to avoid waste. Each action, however small, has meaning. It does nothing in excess. When the sloth moves, every muscle coordinates perfectly, every breath calculated to avoid waste. Each action, however small, has meaning. It does nothing in excess. In a world where speed is revered as a measure of value, this creature lives by the opposite logic. The slower, the longer it endures. At its own biological frequency, it doesn't compete, rival, or rush anywhere. It simply is. And in that being, it unwittingly touches a profound principle the universe follows. Every sustainable system operates in a slow rhythm. When neuroscientists study theta brainwaves, they find this is the frequency of creative moments, connection, and recovery. In that state, the brain is no longer stressed. It oscillates naturally between awareness and release, between consciousness and dreaming. Interestingly, the sloth's movement frequency is near this range. Biologically, it lives in permanent meditation, not because it tries to be still, but because stillness has become its core rhythm. From an evolutionary perspective, the sloth is a paradox of natural selection. It's not fast, not strong, nearly defenseless. Yet its slowness makes it invisible to predators. Every movement blends into the rhythm of leaves, the shadow of wind, to the point predator eyes don't register a creature there. That slowness, seemingly weak, is a survival strategy of stealth. On a deeper level, it's a lesson for the human mind. When we're too fast, in thought, reaction, judgment, we become vulnerable. But when we slow down, we begin to blend into life's natural rhythm. We no longer separate ourselves from the world but become part of it. Like the sloth, we vanish from the gaze of worries, conflicts, the things always chasing us in modern life. On the sloth's fur, moss and algae quietly grow, a mobile garden drifting in mid-air. Up close, each algal strand is like thin green clouds, shimmering in the forest's faint light. In that environment, a miniature ecosystem exists. Insects, bacteria, fungi, and rare insects that only live on sloth bodies. Its body is not just a creature. It's a small planet where all species learn to live slowly to coexist. There's a concept in ecology called mutualism, mutually beneficial coexistence. But looking broader, coexistence is not just biological. It's a symbol of harmony between layers of awareness, between reason and emotion, body and soul, human and world. When those parts stop clashing, we become light like algae on a sloth's back, green without effort, growing without competition. Researchers in Costa Rica once described a moment when a mother sloth carried her baby through rain, hanging still. Water flowed through fur, through moss, falling in glowing chains, yet both remained motionless. That scene is like a symbol of trust in time. No need to rush, because everything arrives when it's meant to. Beneath the forest floor, where all species race with instinct, only the sloth chooses to trust the slow rhythm. And strangely, it's the least vulnerable species. If we view life through the sloth's lens, we see slowness is not lack, but sufficiency. A single movement can hold full focus. A minute of silence can stretch like a day of thought. When you observe, you see everything operates, even when you do nothing. That's the lesson many meditation teachers call awareness without interference, knowing without acting. Like the sloth watching rain through leaves, without dodging, without changing direction, only listening. Once, a scientist attached a heart monitor to a sloth as it crossed a rope between trees. The result showed its heartbeat barely changed, a rare biological calm. In most creatures, movement accelerates the heart, but for the sloth, even effort happens in stillness. This led researchers to call the sloth the master of metabolic meditation, the master of metabolic meditation. Hearing this, we can't help but think of ourselves. How many times have we lost peace just because we rushed to get somewhere, say something, prove something? How much energy is wasted on external movements while the inner world goes unheard? The sloth doesn't teach us how to slow down, it teaches us to trust the present enough not to chase the future. In the Amazon, rains come suddenly then vanish. Light filters through canopies. Insect sounds blend with the earth's hum. In that space, every creature has its own time. Jaguars move in instants, birds sing in cycles, and the sloth, it lives in the forest's rhythm, slow enough to sync with leaves swaying in the wind. No one in the forest thinks it's slow, only humans do. And perhaps that's what the Amazon whispers to those who know how to listen. There's no such thing as slow in a world no longer measured by clocks. Amid the forest's humid air, where vapor rises from soil and clings to every leaf, the sloth still hangs like a low note in life's symphony. It doesn't try to be different. It's simply living in its natural rhythm. To human eyes, it's lethargy. To the forest's eyes, it's perfect harmony. Scientists once attached EEG sensors, devices measuring brain waves, to meditators in deep meditation and found that when the mind enters theta oscillation, the entire body becomes light. Breath, heartbeat, muscle activity all sync in a slow, steady rhythm. Interestingly, comparing this data with physiological studies on sloths revealed a striking similarity, as if nature and human consciousness are finding the same path to stillness. This raises a deeper question. Is slowness nature's way of protecting life from self-destruction? The faster humans go, the more energy we consume, the more resources we burn, the less we can feel. But the sloth, with its slow life, maintains perfect balance between consumption and regeneration. It lives on less but endures longer. In ecology's language, that's evolutionary efficiency. In meditation's language, it's mindfulness. It's no coincidence that the human brain in deep relaxation falls into the same frequency. When we stop competing with time, the body begins restructuring itself. Brain regions responsible for fear and anxiety, like the amygdala, grow quiet, making way for areas linked to positive emotions and connection. In that slow rhythm, we don't just live, we begin to see we're living. If you've ever seen a sloth move at night, you'd see this with your eyes. Moonlight touches its faint green fur, wind gently sways branches, and each movement seems to float in zero gravity. Each gesture, each head tilt, each reach happens in water-like fluidity. Some documentary filmmakers have to speed up footage threefold to clearly see its actions. But in reality, every movement is meditation happening in real time. A researcher once described, the sloth isn't just slow, it makes everything around it slow too. And that's the power of still energy. It spreads. Like entering a room where someone is meditating, you immediately feel the settling, though no one speaks. The sloth creates that effect in the forest. Birds approach closer, insects fly slower, even raindrops seem to hesitate. From a philosophical view, the sloth is a miniature of the universe in energy balance. It never stops moving, but all movement is at the minimum needed to sustain life. Like planets orbiting the sun, their speed isn't random but the result of harmony between gravity and centrifugal force. Too fast, they'd fall into the sun. Too slow, they'd drift off orbit. The sloth has found its orbit. In the deeper layers of consciousness, perhaps every human is seeking the same. An orbit neither too close to fear nor too far from peace. And perhaps that's why we feel comforted seeing a sloth. It doesn't need to explain anything, only exist. Like gazing at a burning candle, we don't think of fire, but feel the presence of light. At a biology research center in Peru, they once measured the energy expenditure of an adult sloth and found it consumes less than 50% of the energy of similarly sized mammals. Mathematically, it's illogical. Biologically, it's perfect. Its slowness isn't just movement, it's a life principle. Do less, but more precisely. No waste, no chaos. If humans could live by that law, only do what's necessary, only say what's enough, only think what matters, the mind would be light as a leaf, and life, though brief, would be as enduring as the forest. The sloth teaches us that patience isn't waiting, it's trust. Trust that when we don't interfere, the world keeps functioning. Trust that if we're silent, what's right will find us. Trust that sometimes the strongest way to live is to let things flow through without holding on. A philosopher once wrote, "The trees that grow slow live long." In the forest, this is true not only for trees, but for beings that listen to the earth's rhythm. The sloth isn't lazy, it's simply living in a different unit of time, where every second is a lesson in full presence. And thus, in the endless symphony of the Amazon, where frogs, rain, wind, and countless breaths intertwine, the sloth is the lowest note, yet it keeps the music balanced. If the forest is Earth's heart, the sloth's slow heartbeat is the pause between beats, where the world is reborn. You don't need to rush. In the forest, everything arrives in its time. And in the moment you realize this, you've begun breathing with the Amazon. In the Amazon forest, where morning mist still lingers on leaves, there are colors that don't just appear. They sing, not with sound, but with melodies of light, ringing when sunlight touches bird wings, when moisture clings to butterfly wings, when a raindrop slides over a vibrant frog's skin. Here, color is a language, and every creature is a note in the song the forest has composed over millions of years of evolution. In the pause between rains, among dense canopies, a toucan appears. Its beak is long and curved like a rainbow carved from light. But the wonder isn't in the colors it wears, but in how it reflects light. In the shade, its beak is no longer gold or orange. It shifts to amber, then pale green, then nearly transparent. Science calls this structural coloration, a type of color not from chemical pigments, but from the delicate interaction of light and microscopic surface structures. When light passes through these microstructures, it bends, scatters, reflects, and interferes, creating hues no paint palette could replicate. Thanks to this mechanism, a morpho butterfly's wings can appear as a shimmering blue-silver mirror when viewed head-on. But tilt your head and they turn purple, then turquoise, then seem to dissolve into air. In truth, morpho wings have almost no blue pigment. They only paint color by bending light. At Cambridge University, scientists are studying the microstructure of these butterfly wings to create artificial light-reflecting materials without dyes. The ultra-thin scales, layered like fan blades, have become inspiration for future technology, where light can be woven rather than painted. In the morpho's world, beauty is never static. It always changes with perspective, as if saying, light only reveals what you're ready to see. Deeper in the forest, you'll encounter macaws, giant parrots with wings as vibrant as a painting breathed into life by wind. As they fly, red touches gold, gold melts into green, then green vanishes into the sky. Each wing beat is a forest heartbeat, slow, steady, yet full of joy. But what makes them special isn't just color, but how they retain brilliance in shade. Light passing through dense canopies is scattered, yet the red-gold-blue hues glow as if emanating from within. Biologists say this comes from the special structure in macaw feathers, tiny keratin fibers forming a three-dimensional network, retaining and diffusing light delicately. In other words, macaws don't just reflect light, they sing with it. Not far away in the lower canopy, another small creature sings a different color song, the Amazon poison frog. In the rain, their skin glows, blue like glass, gold like honey, red like wet ember. But don't let beauty fool you. Those colors are warning signals. I'm dangerous, don't touch. Yet from another angle, even danger has its own beauty. Nature never separates beauty from fear. It arranges them in the same melody. Beauty here isn't to attract, it's to protect. It exists for balance, not admiration. Every creature in the Amazon has its own way of singing with color. The morpho butterfly sings with light reflection. The macaw sings with feathers. The frog sings with warning. The toucan sings with its beak, where light and shadow meet, creating sound no ear needs to hear. But perhaps no creature sings as lightly as light on butterfly wings. In the morpho's world, each wing beat is a small physics story. When white light hits the wing, most is reflected in many directions. Only a tiny portion, precisely wavelengths around 450 nanometers, resonates and amplifies, creating brilliant blue. But from another angle, that light vanishes, leaving wings seemingly transparent. That's why they say, morpho's color only exists when someone is looking. That metaphor is close to humans. Sometimes beauty doesn't come from what we carry, but from how we reflect light. An ordinary soul, when touched by the light of kindness, understanding, or love, can become radiant without any added color. Like morpho wings. It's the inner structure, not the outer layer, that determines what the world sees. Light doesn't just reflect, it reveals. At the microscopic level, when light interacts with the crystal-like layers of butterfly wings, it creates interference, where light waves combine or cancel, producing shades no other material can. In meditation, this state is called harmony, when two oscillations meet not to cancel, but to create a higher frequency. At the light level, it's morpho's blue. At the soul level, it's peace. If the sloth from the previous chapter taught us slowness, the morpho teaches us lightness. A fragile creature that could be swept away by wind, yet it creates a light humans are trying to recreate in labs. In 2023, a Cambridge research team created an artificial material with a structure like morpho wings, reflecting light without any pigment molecules. They called it unfading color. Perhaps nature has long known that the most enduring beauty lies not on the surface, but in deep inner structure. This makes us think of ourselves. How many times in life do we try to paint ourselves with external things? Fame, image, recognition. But when we're tired, when that paint fades, only what's deepest remains. How we reflect the world's light. If the mind is a butterfly wing, experiences are light. Each person may have a different structure, but in that difference, light creates unrepeatable hues. In the Amazon, when afternoon sun slips through canopies, thousands of butterfly wings rise together. No two colors are alike, yet all shimmer in a chorus of light. That's the moment science and poetry meet, where photons and emotions dance, where nature is not just seen, but heard with the heart. And when night falls, colors don't vanish, they only change form. On frog skin, faint fluorescence glows like a dim lamp. On bird feathers, moonlight traces silent curves. Night colors are no longer vivid but soft like breath, hidden in shadow, blending into space. The Amazon never truly sleeps. It only shifts to another light spectrum. And in that darkness, colors still sing, not to be seen, but to be remembered. In the misty mornings of the Amazon, when the forest is still shrouded in thin, smoke-like moisture, the first droplets begin to form, not from clouds, but from the leaves themselves. In the Amazon, rain doesn't just fall, it's summoned. The forest knows how to make its own rain, as if Earth could write a lullaby for itself. Every leaf, every trunk, every root's breath contributes to that song, a song without sound, only vapor and time. Science calls this mechanism transpiration, the process where trees breathe out water vapor through millions of tiny pores on leaf surfaces. By day, sunlight heats the forest surface, causing vapor to rise. That moisture doesn't vanish, it meets wind, meets cooler air at higher altitudes, then condenses into clouds, and those clouds, in their cycle, return to the forest as an answer. People once thought forests only absorbed rain, but now we know forests create their own rain, a delicate cycle where life doesn't wait for heavenly grace, but sustains itself with breath. Every canopy, every root vein, every tiny water droplet is a component in a complex system called the biotic pump. When billions of trees release vapor simultaneously, the atmosphere above the forest becomes cool and moist, creating a low-pressure zone. That pressure draws moist air masses from the ocean deep into the continent, bringing clouds, bringing rain. The forest calls water home like the body calls breath. A Brazilian meteorologist once said, "The Amazon doesn't receive rain, it remembers how to rain." And in that memory, every droplet carries the scent of tree sap, leaf breath, and soil. Each is a tiny replica of the forest, sent to the sky, then returned, so everything is renewed. If you stand in the forest at noon, when the air is thick enough to touch, you'll see thin mists rising from the ground, not fog, but the forest's breath. Those vapors gather, weave into clouds, then become afternoon rain no one needs to pray for. The forest lives not by expectation, it only breathes, and what's needed arrives. In the lower layers, among roots and leaves, there are other silent architects. Cecropia trees. They grow quickly after forest fires, with hollow, soft trunks, but miraculously, inside those hollow trunks, thousands of ants live. Those ants protect the tree from pests, cut away vines, repel parasitic insects. In return, the tree provides shelter and food, a white, sweet sap secreted from the trunk's inner surface. A defense system built on gratitude. No walls, no fences, no violence, only coexistence, mutualism, where one's existence is the other's safety. In the Cecropia's world, defense isn't closing off, but opening up. Like in meditation, peace doesn't come from pushing away conflict, but from allowing everything to coexist without clashing. If you could see with the naked eye, you'd notice. The first raindrops falling on Cecropia leaves create clear water trails sliding through the hollow trunk, carrying dust, seeds, sometimes tiny ants. That droplet then seeps into the soil, touches another tree's roots, and from there rises again as vapor. A perfect system, not just recycling water, but recycling trust. Cecropia isn't the only one that knows gratitude. The entire forest operates on the same principle. Trees create moisture for clouds. Clouds return water to soil. Soil feeds roots. Roots hold soil for trees. A closed circle with no center, because in the Amazon, everything is the center of something. And when rain truly begins, the forest doesn't just get wet, it revives. Amazon rain sounds unlike rain anywhere else on Earth. It falls unevenly, not loudly, but like scattered heartbeats, ringing, then fading, then returning. The canopy is so thick that rain never reaches the ground intact. Large drops break, turn to mist, then fog before touching roots. Natural acoustics researchers once analyzed Amazon rain sounds and found its falling rhythm averages 60 to 70 beats per minute, matching a human heartbeat in deep rest. Perhaps that's why listening to forest rain brings peace. Not because it's quiet, but because it vibrates at our heart's frequency. Like trees calling rain, you too can call peace, not by wanting, but by softening. When your mind stops drying out with worry, when gratitude moistens your heart, the rain of emotions returns. Science and meditation, seemingly distant, meet here. When a system reaches balance, it generates its own rain. Night falls. Rain stops, but the forest remains damp. Thousands of droplets linger on leaves, reflecting faint moonlight like countless eyes in the dark. Cecropia trees still stand, hollow, full of life. Inside, ant colonies continue maintaining their nest, unaware they're helping sustain a cycle larger than understanding. A lingering droplet slides off a leaf's edge, falls to the soft ground. That droplet will seep into roots, and one day rise again as a cloud. It might drift across the Atlantic, become rain in Africa, then return with the wind. NASA has confirmed Amazon vapor travels as far as the Sahara Desert, bringing moisture to places where water seems non-existent. Water has no borders. Like gratitude, once released, it finds its way back. And so the Amazon keeps breathing. Trees keep calling rain. Rain keeps returning. Between falling and rising, the world sustains life, not by miracle, but by the memory of gentleness. If you listen long enough, you'll realize rain has a soul. It knows where it's needed and returns there at the right time, like peace within you, sometimes seeming lost but only rising, gathering into clouds, to one day fall back in sleep. When rain fades, the forest doesn't fall silent. It begins to whisper. Each droplet on leaves slides down, seeps through soil, touches roots, and there, deeper than any canopy, any light, another world moves. No color, no sound, only threads thin as breath, connecting one tree's roots to another, like Earth's underground bloodstream. Scientists call this network the Wood Wide Web, the global forest network. It wasn't built by humans, but woven by life itself. Beneath the Amazon's damp soil, billions of fungal threads thinner than hair extend in darkness, attaching to roots, piercing mud, reaching other roots. Where they touch, a message is exchanged, a form of understanding without language, without will, but precise. When a young tree sprouts in shade, it can't live on light alone. But this fungal network transports carbon and nutrients from mature trees to the sapling, helping it grow. When a tree is injured, chemical signals from its roots spread, prompting nearby trees to boost antioxidants and defensive enzymes. No one commands it. The forest simply senses, then self-adjusts. Brazilian biologists once observed a strange phenomenon. When an ancient tree is felled, nearby trees temporarily increase photosynthesis. Like a feedback pulse, a farewell in light. They call it the farewell surge. And after a few days, when the soil settles, the rhythm returns to normal. No funeral, only a small energy flow sent. So part of the fallen tree keeps living in the others. Trees also communicate with water vapor and light. When sunlight hits canopies, weak electrical signals travel through leaf tissue, reporting humidity, temperature, and light direction. Leaves don't just receive light, they respond to it. When roots sense changing moisture, that signal travels up the trunk, and other trees in the shared root zone adjust their stomatal openings to sync vapor release. The entire forest breathes together. On a deeper scale, the root and fungal network is the planet's nervous system. The thin fungal threads called hyphae crisscross to form mycelium, a biological structure spanning kilometers, transmitting signals faster than water flow. Through it, trees exchange minerals, sugars, and chemical signals like electrical impulses in the human brain. Some ecologists call it the Earth's neural web. These signals aren't just physical, they carry information about life, about each individual's state. When a tree is stressed, its carbon dioxide output changes, ethylene levels rise, and fungi sense it, sending the message farther. Thus, information spreads, not with sound, but with life's resonance. If we could hear that frequency, it might sound like a long sigh deep in the earth. Natural bioacoustics researchers have recorded ultra-low vibrations, around 220 Hz, from some tree root zones. Other trees' roots vibrate in response, as if seeking each other. A form of listening through soil, where sound travels not through air, but through roots, water, and fungi. In this system, there's no me and you, no distinction. Everything blends like a shared energy flow. When one part is damaged, the entire network automatically rebalances. If a root breaks, others expand to replace it. If an area dries, other trees open fewer stomata to conserve shared moisture. Life protects life. But the greatest wonder isn't in the physical response, but in what we feel. When the forest communicates, it doesn't make noise but radiates a dense stillness, as if every message is understood without words. And in the deeper layers of the human mind, there's an invisible root network like this. We think we're separate individuals, but every emotion, memory, glance spreads, touching others without our awareness. When we're joyful, the air around us lightens. When we're sad, the room darkens. Emotions, like the forest's energy, move without medium. They find paths through gaps in thought, through heartbeats, through light in the eyes. If someone far away thinks of you in silence, you might feel it, not knowing why, only that it's there. Like how trees in the forest sense each other through soil, rain, scent. No connection is ever truly lost, only transformed. Like the Amazon, where every tree root can reach another, the human mind weaves together with invisible threads of emotion and awareness. A gentle thought can travel farther than words. A small action can touch someone whose name we don't know. In the night, when dew falls and soil is still warm, the root network keeps working. No one sees it, but the entire forest keeps breathing, sending signals, nourishing each other. Above, old rain turns to mist. Below, new roots sprout. The universe keeps conversing in ways only silence can hear. Perhaps what makes the Amazon alive isn't just the sound of birds, water, or wind, but the silent dialogues beneath the soil, where all life listens to each other, not with ears, but with presence. And when you stand in the forest, truly quiet, truly long, you might feel the ground beneath your feet is never still. It's dreaming, it's thinking, it's speaking to you in a language only a silent heart can understand. No one knows where those roots connect or when they stop. Only that, when we're still enough, we too begin to hear them. And perhaps, on some deep level, you and the forest were never separate, only two branches of the same network dreaming of life. When night falls, the Amazon forest doesn't sink into silence. It stirs, like a colossal orchestra beginning a performance daylight never witnesses. From afar, insect sounds rise like soft drums. Frog calls echo in wet lows. Bat wings slice the air, painting invisible arcs. In darkness, thick enough to touch, the forest begins to sing with light. Streaks of blue-green light appear along the river, like a galaxy flowing on land. That's the glow of plankton, light-emitting microorganisms, so small they're only visible when moving. When water ripples, when bat wings brush the surface, millions of glowing specks flare, then fade, leaving soft phosphorescent trails like memories. Science calls this bioluminescence, biological light, when organisms produce light through a reaction between the enzyme luciferase and the molecule luciferin. No sun, no electricity, only life needed. On the banks, poison dart frogs' phyllobates have faintly glowing skin in the dark, not to show off, but to signal, "I'm dangerous." In a way, they're unafraid to be seen. Their light is a shield, a nature's lesson. Beauty and caution are sometimes the same flame. Higher up, morpho butterflies rest after long flights. Their wings are closed, but when moonlight passes, blue metallic specks reflect. Not from pigment, but from the microscopic structure of wings, ultra-thin layers bending light into pure blue. Like in meditation, true beauty lies not in what we carry, but in how we reflect light from elsewhere. The nighttime forest isn't quiet, it only changes rhythm. Crickets blend with waves, bats touch wind, leaves rustle, creating a tempo human ears struggle to grasp but bodies still feel. In a Brazil-based research experiment, they recorded that nighttime insect vibrations in the Amazon average 4 Hz, matching the human brain's delta waves, the state of deep sleep. Perhaps that's why forest night sounds lull travelers to sleep. The forest knows how to sing at dream frequency. Night creatures here don't just live, they communicate with music. Frogs sing to find mates. Bats use ultrasound to navigate. Insects vibrate wings at unique frequencies to mark territory. Each species is an instrument, and when thousands play together, no song repeats. All form the nocturnal symphony, where there's no conductor, only natural harmony. Science calls it acoustic niche partitioning, nature's way of teaching creatures to share sound space so none drowns out another. In a forest with over 10,000 calling species, no two share the same frequency. The forest self-regulates like a song that knows how to harmonize. No sound is wasted, no voice alone. If you stand still in that darkness, all senses gradually dissolve, no longer distinguishing sound from light, from the boundary between you and the forest. Everything blends into a unified vibration, like a cosmic orchestra rehearsing for dawn. But no one rushes, no one leads. Every sound, every light speck, every water vapor knows where it needs to be. When night reaches its stillest point, there's a sound only the earth hears. Insect rhythms syncing with the forest's heartbeat. In that moment, the entire planet seems to inhale. Not out of fear, not out of need, but simply, it's alive. An ecologist once said, "The forest sleeps with its eyes open." And indeed, when we look long enough, we see the Amazon's darkness isn't absence, but another form of light. Light of organisms, of connection, of breath, linking all things. There are afternoons in the Amazon when the air is drier than usual, leaves rustle like whispers between generations. The sun lingers high, moisture recedes from damp soil layers, and blades of grass begin to change color. In a place that seems to know only rain, fire is still born. It's not a destroyer, it's an inevitable part of life. A lightning bolt strikes a dry trunk. A small flame ignites, then spreads with the wind, curling through layers of fallen leaves. The scent of smoke blends with tree sap, both fierce and warm. In the dancing red light, we might think the forest is in pain, but in truth, it's exhaling a new chapter of itself. Science calls it the fire rebirth cycle. Fire, in many tropical ecosystems, isn't just an end, but a key to new life. When temperatures rise high enough, seed coats crack. Beneath lingering hot ash, those seeds awaken after years of dormancy. Some species, like Stylosanthes guianensis, can only germinate when fire breaks their hard shells, a silent nature's lesson. Sometimes life can only begin after enduring. After a fire, the forest turns black. But within a week, grey ash begins to sprout green. Ash is minerals, nutrients. The first rains awaken the soil, carrying seeds, pollen, decayed leaves. And in that ash blanket, the forest regrows from its own remnants. From afar, you can see bands of color across the ground. Burned areas dark, regenerating areas pale green, ancient stands still intact. The Amazon is never a still life. It's a cycle song, where each note burns to make way for the next. When an ecologist looks at a burned forest, they don't see loss but preparation. Woody species regrow faster, roots absorb minerals more easily. Old trees nourish new ones. Old soil feeds new soil. In a study by the Manaus Ecology Institute, they recorded that post-natural fire sapling density increases over 3 times compared to unburned areas. Fire, it turns out, is an invisible gardener. Fire in the Amazon doesn't come from destruction, but from balance. It cleans, warms, renews. When flames pass, they leave fertile soil, leave light for lower canopies. They clear the way for the next generation, silently, without needing praise. And if we listen, we'll hear seeds cracking in ash, a tiny but sacred sound, the sound of beginning. Nature, in this way, teaches humans the lesson of letting go. Trees don't cling to burning leaves. Soil doesn't mourn ash. Wind doesn't fear embers. All let fire do its work, burning the old, making space for what's coming. Likewise, in human life, sometimes we need a fire. Not the fire of hatred, but of transformation, the kind that burns exhaustion, fear, thoughts no longer needed. Like the forest, we must learn to burn without collapsing, to regrow from our purer parts. Some sleeps are like this, a small fire in the heart. When we sleep, the brain organizes memories, discards excess information, heals cells, regenerates energy. That's how the body burns yesterday's dust. Science calls this process homeostasis, biological balance. But through meditation's eyes, it's the forest's ritual. Every night, we shed leaves, burn, to regrow in the morning. From the darkness of sleep, our minds quiet like the forest after a fire rain. What remains isn't smoke but the scent of damp earth, soft, clean, still. And in that soil, new thoughts will sprout, seeds within us, like Amazon seeds, only open under heat. Without pressure, we wouldn't crack, wouldn't grow. Without fires, the forest wouldn't know self-renewal. Perhaps that's why the Amazon has endured tens of millions of years of change. Not because it avoids harm, but because it uses harm to regenerate. Fire isn't the end, only another form of beginning. Tonight, if you close your eyes, imagine a small seed in warm ash. It's not afraid, it's only waiting. A spark, a droplet, a breath, and it will open. Like your soul, after weary days, needing only a moment of stillness to bloom again, calm, whole, and green. There are mornings in the Amazon when mist still clings to leaves, and lake surfaces lie still like unawakened mirrors. No ripples, no sound, only thin moisture veiling the water with a silver sheen. Those lakes reflect everything: sky, canopies, white clouds, and the shadow of the person standing on the shore. But if a pebble falls, the image shatters, the sky distorts, the face vanishes. One small disturbance, and the world in the water has changed. Humans are the same. Our consciousness, seemingly solid, is truly fragile like water's surface. When the mind is still, we see everything clearly. When disturbed, the image clouds. In Eastern philosophy, the mind is likened to a lake. When calm, it reflects the universe. When rippled, it only reflects itself. From science's view, this reflection is explained by surface tension, the force by which water molecules bond tightly via hydrogen bonds, creating an invisible membrane on the surface. This membrane keeps dewdrops round, allows insects to walk without sinking, and lets the sky's image appear perfectly. But a single touch, a falling leaf, a breeze, breaks that balance. Reflection vanishes not because light changes, but because the water is no longer still. That's what meditation has taught for thousands of years. When the mind is quiet, we see reality. When the mind stirs, we see only the reflection of our unrest. In the lowlands of the Amazon, where water pools into small lakes, you can see the forest twice, once real, once mirrored. Birds fly in the sky but also fly in the water. Trees stand upright but also grow inverted into the depths. No boundary between above and below, between real and dream. Standing before that scene, one often feels they're looking into another part of the world, where light and consciousness become one. Like the human mind, a lake has two faces. One reflects light, that's perception. One absorbs light, that's the subconscious. When we learn to look through reflection, not stopping at the image, we begin touching the deep water, where memories, emotions, and dreams quietly flow. Ecologists recently discovered a unique fish in the Amazon, nicknamed mirror fish. This fish has thin, transparent scales that reflect light nearly perfectly. When one changes direction, the reflected light causes the entire school to turn in unison in a single moment. No call, no leader, only light as the signal. This phenomenon is described as synchrony of reflection, and amazingly, it's similar to brainwave synchronization in group meditation recorded by neuroscientists. When people sit together in silence, Theta and alpha waves gradually match frequencies as if reflecting each other's minds. Seen this way, the small fish beneath the water aren't just swimming, they're meditating in motion. Each glide is a light streak, each direction part of a larger rhythm. And we, if we observe quietly, see a hidden lesson. We don't need control to harmonize, only enough stillness to reflect. As evening falls, the lake transforms again. Pale golden light slants down, the sky blazes in red bands, and the water reflects sunset as if holding the day's last warmth. A bird flies by, its wings slicing the horizon in two, half in the air, half in the mirror water. All boundaries dissolve. Suddenly, we understand what the forest always knew. Every image is temporary, only movement is real. Some scientists liken the water cycle to the planet's memory. A raindrop falls on a leaf, seeps into soil, flows into a river, to the sea, evaporates, then returns to the sky. Each cycle is a recollection, vapor carrying the forest's memory worldwide. Perhaps when you inhale, some of that vapor once drifted over an Amazon lake, reflected moonlight, heard mirrorfish move. The mind has that cycle too. Thoughts come, then go. Emotions rise, then settle. If we try to hold on, the water ripples. If we let flow, the water calms. When we stop resisting, we begin to see, like a lake clearly mirroring clouds when it stops stirring itself. At night, wind brushes the forest, lightly touching the water. Ripples spread, then fade into darkness. In that moment, the whole world seems to slow to mirror itself. Moonlight falls not just to illuminate, but to remind that reflection is also a form of existence. And perhaps the human mind was created to reflect like this, not to grasp, but to see, understand, then release. Like the lake, your consciousness doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be still enough to see its true sky. And then, amid countless light ripples, you'll realize every external image is just an invitation to look within, where water and mind become mirrors together. As moonlight falls on the deepest forest layers of the Amazon, where light is only a breath, you might hear a sound light as smoke, the voice of the ancients. Not spoken with mouths, but wind threading through leaves, drums echoing in the earth, river water singing against ancient stones. For the indigenous peoples living here, it's not just sound. It's the forest's memory. Thousands of years before the first maps were drawn, tribes like the Yawanawa, Huniqueen, and Ashaninka lived with the forest like with a mother. They don't call the forest it, but grandmother. Every tree, every stream has a name, a temperament, a memory. To them, felling a tree awakens a long sleeping dream. Drinking river water borrows grandmother Earth's breath. The Yawanawa have an ancient saying, "Wisdom isn't in the head, it's in the ears when we listen." They believe the forest always speaks, but only those silent long enough understand. And children, from the moment they walk, are taught to listen to the forest, not with language, but with rhythm. An elder's lesson. When leaves rustle differently, rain is coming. They have no radar, no satellites, only ears and time. Later, scientists confirmed it's true. Before storms, atmospheric ion changes make leaves vibrate at different frequencies, and ears that have lived a lifetime in the forest can detect the difference. Science arrived late, only to verify what humans once knew by feeling. In the heart of the Amazon, villages appear only after days of river travel. By day, they live simply, fishing, gathering fruit, drying medicinal leaves in the sun. But at night, they gather around fire, and the forest becomes a temple. Rain drum sounds rise slowly, each beat heavy like the earth's heart. Pan flute melodies blend with insects, creating music no modern instrument can recreate. In the firelight, elders tell stories of how the forest taught them to live, not with theory, but with observation. An elder Yawanawa says, "Medicinal trees only speak to those who know silence. They find medicine not by formula, but by feeling. Walking in the forest, if a scent suddenly sharpens, if birds fall silent as you approach a bush, that's the sign. They believe the tree calls them. And over thousands of years this way, indigenous people discovered over 1,300 medicinal plant species. From the bark of cinchona, the source of quinine for malaria, to Croton lechleri sap, dragon's blood for healing wounds, or Banisteriopsis kaapi leaves, the soul of ayahuasca ceremonies, helping them talk to the forest. Each medicinal plant is a piece in a knowledge system modern science is only beginning to decode. But what has kept this knowledge alive for millennia isn't skill, but reverence. Indigenous people don't use the forest, they partner with it. Each time they harvest medicine, they plant a few seeds in the soil. Each time they hunt an animal, they burn incense to thank its spirit. To them, knowledge doesn't come from possession, but from listening. And in that listening, there's an understanding no book can record. Knowledge of breath, of soil, of heartbeat. In ancient ceremonies, there's a special chant called the rain song. It's not a plea, but a harmonizing. Singers match the rhythm of distant thunder. Drums follow the wind, and their breath syncs with the forest. When human heartbeat and nature's rhythm align, rain comes, not as magic, but as resonance between human will and the atmosphere. Today, atmospheric physicists still can't fully explain this rain calling, but they confirm low-frequency sounds can stimulate water vapor condensation in humid air. Perhaps those songs understood this long ago. By the fire at night, the storyteller says the forest isn't just a home, but a school. There, every creature is a teacher. Ants teach organization, the river teaches patience, fallen trees teach cycles, and rain teaches humans to return. So when forest children are asked, "Who taught you to live?" they don't say parents, but the forest. Because for them, every sound, every light shadow, every damp soil scent is a letter in nature's language. When we hear an elder retell myths of the river's origin, we might think it's fantasy. But behind the story is observation accumulated over thousands of seasons. How rain creates sources, water forms streams, streams nourish soil. Their language isn't separate from nature, but born from its rhythm. In the Yawanawa tongue, Yuksibu means both spirit and breath. One word, two worlds, but in the forest, those worlds are the same. Modern science, after centuries of measuring and classifying, is returning to listen to the forest with those ancient ears. Ecologists have found indigenous people can hear leaf frequency changes, predicting air humidity more accurately than machines. A study in Acre, Brazil, showed they can forecast rain with 92% accuracy using only insect sounds and leaf vibrations. What seemed mystical ultimately became another branch of science, the science of sensation. Perhaps what makes indigenous knowledge revered isn't its age, but its humility. They don't separate themselves from the ecosystem, don't see themselves as masters. They're part of the network, like a root thread in the soil, a water droplet in rain, a breath in dawn. An elder Yawanawa once said at a ceremony attended by scientists, "You have books, we have soil. When you read, words are on paper. When we read, words are in the wind." That statement, seemingly simple, is the hinge between two knowledge worlds. One is the system of reason, measuring, analyzing, reasoning. The other is the system of intuition, feeling, remembering, merging. Both, if they listen to each other, lead to the same place, understanding and gratitude. As night nears its end, the elder storyteller strikes the final drumbeat, then lets the sound fade into the air. No applause, no closing words. Because in their culture, stories never end. They only pause where the listener needs rest, so the rest echoes in the heart. And if you listen closely, amid rustling leaves, amid forest moisture, you'll realize true knowledge isn't in books, but in the earth's breath. There's something profoundly strange about Earth. No matter how wounded, it always knows how to heal. Like skin closing over a scratch, like forest rising from ash, this planet always finds a way to restore its heartbeat. Just let it be. Just listen, and everything will slow, then return to rhythm. From above, the Amazon appears as a slow-beating green heart. Rivers are veins, carrying oxygen and nutrients across the planet's body. Each time river water rises, when the forest exhales vapor into the sky, that's a pulse of life. NASA scientists once likened the Amazon to a slow-beating lung of Earth, a biological lung, exhaling the rhythm sustaining the atmosphere. But numbers alone can't convey that pulse. You must hear it, touch it, live with the forest to feel how gentle it is. When the forest is cut, the soil hurts. But even in that pain, life finds a way to sprout from the wound. Young trees grow on broken trunks, new roots push into cleared soil. That recovery isn't a miracle, it's the planet's instinct. Everything wants to live. In modern environmental philosophy, there's a concept called the Gaia hypothesis, that Earth isn't just a container for life, but a living organism that self-regulates to maintain balance. From atmospheric oxygen levels to ocean salinity, from temperature to the water cycle, all coordinate like organs in one body. When we breathe slowly, the forest breathes slowly. When we're still, the planet is still. Because humans aren't outside life, we're within it. Perhaps that's why, stepping into the forest even for minutes, our heartbeat slows. Science calls this the biophilia effect, the biological effect of loving nature. Just seeing trees changes heart rate and brain waves. Stress hormones drop, serotonin rises. The body doesn't need effort. It recognizes home. In the Amazon, that feeling is clearer. The air here is denser, moister, heavy with leaf scent. When we inhale, it's not just oxygen. It's the breath of millions of beings exchanging together. That sensation is like being lulled by a larger, older, kinder heartbeat than our own, the planet's. An Ashaninka elder once told a French researcher traveling with the group, "When the forest breathes tired, we just sit still, because when people sit still, the wind stops crying." The words sound like metaphor, but beneath is biological truth. A University of Exeter study found communities near pristine forests emit 60% less carbon than urban areas, not because they protect the environment, but because they live in slow rhythm. They move less, consume less, but feel more. And that rhythm, natural slowness, is the medicine for Earth. When we think of conservation, we often imagine grand campaigns, high technology, or numbers of trees planted. But the forest doesn't need saving with noise. It needs us to listen. Listen where it's weak, where it lacks water, where it has too many hands. Listen to know when to stop, when to touch. Because no organism wants to be saved, only understood. If you've stood at the edge of a logged forest, you'll see something strange. Remaining trees lean toward the gap, not just for light, but because their roots are still connected. They stretch to hold soil, to shield the weaker part. Like the human body, where one area hurts, other cells send healing signals. The forest, like us, knows solidarity without words. A University of British Columbia research team found that when an ancient tree is cut, surrounding trees temporarily boost photosynthesis for days, like a farewell act. Not for lack of light, but because roots sensed the break in the shared network. The way the forest grieves may be what humans need to relearn: biological empathy. In the Amazon night, when all sounds settle, you can hear water seeping into the earth, the sound of patience. The forest is never in a hurry. It knows rebirth takes time, and perhaps Earth is waiting for us to relearn that rhythm. Conservation, in its deepest sense, isn't preserving as is. It's learning to live without breaking rhythm. Not disrupting water flow, not blocking breath, not weighing down nature's song. Because when the planet loses rhythm, humans lose it too. This world is never hopeless, only sometimes out of balance, and balance can return through small acts, a slow breath, a tree planted without expecting reward, a day lived simply, without noise, without excess. Each, though small, sends a healing wave beyond the body, beyond the city, blending into Earth's rhythm. In that stillness, you'll understand there's no boundary between biology and spirituality. When you're at peace, the forest hears. When you're grateful, the soil softens. When you look at the sky looks back through water's reflected light. Environmental philosophy has a beautiful idea. The planet heals through awareness. Earth doesn't need fixing with tools. It needs remembering with attention. Just looking at the forest with softened eyes, listening to rain without rushing for shelter, walking slowly to feel post-storm soil scent, you've already helped the planet breathe easier. Then one day, when all is silent, you'll realize the simplest truth. Earth never stops loving us, only waits for us to love it back in slow rhythm. When you breathe slowly, the planet breathes slowly with you. And between those two breaths, there's a very soft space, where life and consciousness meet, where forest and human are no longer different, but two breaths in the same heart. On the final night of the journey, having passed through every forest breath, every light color, every life sound, the Amazon returns to its most primal form, a long, soft exhale. Above, clouds gather, unhurried, unheavy. Then rain begins to fall, drop by drop, steady and warm. Not the fierce rain of day, but night rain, rain for sleep. Each drop touches a leaf like a small note, falls to the ground, seeps into roots, then vanishes into the depths where underground streams still flow though the world is quiet. You sit there, amid damp earth scent, listening to the forest breathe. Distant frog calls, water tapping trunks, wind threading moss, all blend, no longer separate sounds, but a life harmony lulling itself to sleep. Through the long journey, you've heard the forest inhale with leaves, exhale with rain, seen water become mirrors, light become songs, time melt in each creature's slow breath. Now, all that returns to you, like fragments of the dream you're in. Vapor rising from soil meets falling rain, forming thin mist drifting across the lake. The water no longer reflects anything, because now, everything has merged. No boundary between sky and earth, between you and forest, between breath and sound. Only one rhythm remains, slow, steady, gentle, like a heart listening to itself. Ecologists have said, the Amazon doesn't just produce oxygen, it creates rhythm for the planet. Now you can feel it, not with reason, but with your body. Your heart beats in time with rain, your lungs sync with soil moisture, your consciousness dissolves like dust in cooling space. If we think of life as a song, this is the final lingering note, where all sounds soften, needing no words, no climax. Light no longer blazes, but quietly seeps through rain, breaking on leaves. Each droplet on grass tips reflects distant firelight, looking like stars. Perhaps this is where the sky is born again, in the earth's heart, amid the forest. You recall what the forest taught. Breath can be gentle as light. Fire can nourish, not destroy. Water carries memory, and memory knows return. Life doesn't follow straight lines, but circles, like rain returning to the sea, like dreams returning to the mind. A distant thunder rolls, not frightening, but soothing like a lullaby. That thunder doesn't herald storm but peace. It awakens the soil, reminds roots there's still tomorrow to grow, reminds leaves there's still light to reach for. Everything is resting, not stopping, and in that rest, the planet is healing. Now, rain falls slower. Sound spreads like smoke. You close your eyes, feel the air grow heavier, cooler, quieter. If someone saw you now, they'd think you no longer belong to any specific place. Not a listener, not an observer. You've become part of the forest. A small heartbeat in Earth's great heart. A gentle breath among billions happening at once. Rain still falls, slow and steady. Light dissolves into canopies. Your heartbeat dissolves into the Earth's rhythm, and your breath blends with the planet's breath. Every story needs a place to settle, but not to end. The forest is the same. It doesn't close. It only flows on through you. In your breath, your dreams, the quiet blood flow of all humanity. Now, let the forest watch over your sleep. Let rain become your blanket, darkness your companion. No need to seek more, no need to remember or think. The forest is still breathing, and you only need to rest in that rhythm. Good night, traveler. The jungle will keep breathing for you.